Christian Van Gregg, talented professional screenwriter, extremely brilliant, an award-winning writer of several made-for-movie scripts. A journal entry, a season to love. The leaves don't change in California. The beach doesn't get lonely in the winter. Girls purchase bikinis in January, and people wear shorts year-round. Bads hit fast and wash clean with the first big waves. In fact, the only thing that is predictable here is that our lawns get brown in the summer. Not even our politicians last. We eat breakfast in our cars and drive 60 miles for dinner. We hate slow bankers and curse under our breath when we have to stop at a yellow light. It is difficult to keep a history in a society that puts such heavy demands on the next 5 minutes. When can you find time to ask why when your favorite team is kicking off right after the beer commercial? The answer is simple. You must work at it. You must turn off the radio sometimes on your commute into the city. You must stop by the playground and watch the children building dreams in the sandbox. You must make an effort to say hello to your secretary, your teacher, your grandfather. You find your history, and you find yourself when you listen. You must teach your eyes to listen to the questions you ask. You must remind your ears how to see the quiver in a hurting friend's voice. You must remember how to love with the middle of your gut. You must find the courage to give someone the combination to your soul in exchange for butterflies in your stomach. You want to know how to find yourself and to find your history? Try listening to a 3-year-old. Try looking at the same things he is looking at and seeing through a heart that hasn't been hurt and calloused yet. That, my friend, is how you remember. Written by Christian Van Gregg. Christian Van Gregg has always been extremely talented, witty, brilliant, fun, sensitive, and very good-hearted. He was considered the golden boy, good at everything he tried, and greatly admired by everyone. Christian Van Gregg described himself in one of his pages. At 17, the boy shuffled hangdog through life, like one who knew mortality before his time. His smiles were old and shallow because he had forgotten how to laugh and how to weep. On one postcard cloudless blue June day, he buried his baseball mitt, his innocence, and his father in a Southern California hillside. At 19, the boy loved only 2 things with the power to surpass the muck of dailiness. To these, he gave the life he had. Around these loves revolved all other things. His lesser passion was to dance with waves. His greater passion was to write. He gathered his writing power from the waves he loved. He would hide himself in the dark swells and know that life was bigger than him. There he would wait until the last surfer had scrambled into the last car. Then he would curse and spit into the night wind, screaming, "I am small, very small, and there is nothing you can do. You cannot shake me, not with your great birds, or your frozen waters, or your icy breath. I am small, and there is nothing you can do." After his words had returned again to silence, he would look back at the craggy coast and watch as the foam titans crashed upon the beach. These creatures have come 1,000 miles, he would think to himself, through terrible storms and dull, stifling heat, only to be sacrificed like an unnamed thing on an isolated strip of coastline. This was perhaps the boy's greatest fear. It was the fear that drove him to forget his love and find it once again. He feared to die unnamed like the waves he loved on an isolated strip of life where no one heard his sacrifice. It has perhaps been known through all the ages that a wave cannot be given worth until it has been ridden, and a gift cannot be named until it has been used. These are the greatest passions of my life, to write and then to serve. I live hard now and demand the same of my pen. Written by Christian Van Gregg.
On December 12, 1973, Christian Van Gregg was born to his mother, Nancy Van Sant Gregg, and his father, Robert Calvin Gregg. In this photo, Cal is shown as he proudly brings baby boy Christian home. As the second son of the Gregg family, Christian was born 11 years after his big brother, Roger Courtney Gregg. In this photo, little Roger is in the arms of his mother, Nancy, while his father, Cal, looks at him lovingly. Another favorite photo shows Roger tenderly holding his new baby brother, Chris. Roger and Christian were both born in California. Roger was born in Santa Barbara, which is where Cal and Nancy first lived when they moved from Ohio to California in 1961. Before Chris was born, Nancy and Cal tried several times unsuccessfully to adopt another child. Finally, after 11 years, Nancy was delighted to learn she was pregnant. By this time, the family had moved to Camarillo in order to be near Cal's favorite uncle. It was in Camarillo, surrounded by extended family, that Christian Van Gregg was born. In this photo, Chris had just learned how to tickle his father. As a young child, with his mother's encouragement, Christian began writing. One of his early stories was written about the Bear family, which composed of Mama Bear, Papa Bear, Big Brother Bear, and Chris was Baby Bear. Chris liked the idea of his mother being affectionately called Mama Bear, and continued to lovingly refer to Nancy as Mama Bear for the rest of his life. Nancy and Cal were married in Fostoria, Ohio on April 24, 1959 in the Evangelical United Brethren Church, Nancy's family church. Nancy and Cal had a close relationship. They enjoyed being with each other and working on their mutual goals, both in raising their boys and in running a successful business. They also liked to have fun. When Cal turned 40, Nancy had bumper stickers printed and placed on their vehicle that read, "Honk, Cal Gregg is 40. Cal couldn't figure out why everyone was honking at him. For their 25th wedding anniversary, Cal arranged to have a formal dining room created on the baseball field. On the tables were beautiful floral bouquets, silver candelabras, white linen tablecloths with matching napkins, silver utensils, and crystal glasses. The menu consisted of ballpark food, but the menu was written in French. Friends dressed as formal waiters served each table. Cal, it seemed, had invited everyone they knew. On their way to dinner, Cal told Nancy he needed to stop by the baseball field for a quick meeting. When she saw all the planning he had done to make their anniversary special, she was very touched. Although the food consisted of hot dogs and other concession-style food, champagne for toast was also available. Their many guests delighted in making multiple toasts for the couple's good health and future happiness. Cal had also arranged for the local newspaper photographer to take pictures. The next day, their anniversary party made the front page of the paper. Christian's father Cal always played everything to the best of his ability. Games were a serious business in the Gregg household. Cal, along with his Uncle Guy and his cousins and Uncle Guy's children, enjoyed some serious competitions playing ping pong. One of the first games Roger learned to play was ping pong. The car sat in the driveway because a ping pong table had taken over the garage. Cal's favorite sport was really baseball, but he felt that ping pong was a great sport for training hand-eye coordination. Playing this game helped Christian develop his skills in baseball. Cal taught Roger and then later Chris the value and excitement of competitive sports. Roger was very athletic, but his favorite sport was football. Through football, Roger earned an athletic scholarship to play for the University of California at San Luis Obispo. Christian thrived in this competitive environment. He was a natural athlete, and to his father's great joy, Chris shared Cal's love of baseball. Cal encouraged Chris to excel in pitching and batting. Christian was an extraordinary pitcher and a great batter. This photo shows a young Chris receiving his first little baseball bat from his father Calvin. Another photo shows Chris with his young Camarillo baseball team. His father, Cal, loved baseball. Cal is the amazing coach on the far right top, and Chris is the last boy on the bottom row far right. To play well, one must practice. This photo shows Chris as a little tyke practicing his batting. In this photo, Christian was approximately 8 years old at the time. All the practicing paid off because Christian became a phenomenal baseball player. While in high school, Christian spent one summer playing for the Philadelphia Phillies summer team. This loving photo shows Christian with his family, his father, his mother, and his big brother. Nancy and Chris were very close with many shared interests in common. Writing together as they listened to classical music became a favorite activity. In the privacy of his room, Christian studied, read, and wrote accompanied by classical music. With his friends, however, he was very familiar with pop culture. He had great rhythm and knew a variety of music. Christian Van Gregg was always a superior student. He earned an academic scholarship to USC, the University of Southern California, and was in their exclusive thematic arts program with 24 other selected students. He was truly extraordinary. When he graduated, his degree was in writing and directing. Some of the pre-university accomplishments included the Most Outstanding Athlete Award, Football Hustler Awards, Best Defensive Player, Mock Trial Head Defense Attorney, and 3-year Member Key Club. All-star trophies in each sport. This photo shows a young Chris with some of the many trophies he earned for sports and academics. And by the time Chris was ready to graduate from high school, the library in the family's home was lined with shelves of Chris's trophies. Some of his pre-university accomplishments subsequently are award recipient for the Sons of the American Revolution essay contest, PTSA liaison between PTA and ASB 1991, awards for leadership, community service, and scholastic achievement. Speech and debate, 2 first-place trophies, state level. 21 speech trophies including debate and student congress, Degree of Merit National Forensics League 1990 to 1991 Scholastic Achievement Award, Programmed Reading and Humorous Interpretation First Place Honors, Optimus Speech Tournament for Original Speech, Adolfo Award, Most Inspired Actor for the role of Curly in Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men. 2 years performing with the California Shakespeare Company. This is a scene from Macbeth. When Christian was still in high school, he acted in a Shakespearean company. The plays were performed outdoors in an amphitheater with the audience seated on the hillside. They had sound effects, fog machines, and great lighting. Christian was truly wonderful. He was gifted with an extraordinary memory. This photo shows a director and producer of the independent Shakespearean troupe in which Chris acted while still in high school, and next to him, his father Cal. This photo shows Cal cooking in the kitchen. He loved to create specific dinners using only a thick layer of salt on very high heat. Although the outcome was usually delicious, many skillets were ruined using this cooking method. In the photo, Nancy is documenting Cal holding another burned skillet. Nancy gifted him an apron, which he loved, that read, "My Hero." Cal really led many people's hearts. People were drawn to Cal by his intelligence and his easygoing, fun-loving personality. He was a natural leader who truly cared about people and tried to make the world around him a better place. In this way, Cal was a true hero. Nancy, Christian's wonderful and loving mother, believed in keeping a journal. Recording one's thoughts and feelings about a variety of subjects was important for a healthy mind. So, she purchased a journal for Chris and encouraged him to make daily entries and to create memory boards to project his dreams. Through journaling, Christian discovered that he loved writing. Sometimes Christian and his mother would practice writing together. Nancy had a unique style of writing which Chris began to unconsciously emulate. There were times as Christian matured in his writing skills that it was difficult to distinguish Christian's writing from his mother's writing. Occasionally, Christian and Nancy would journal together, especially during Cal's long fight with cancer.
In the beginning, Chapter 1. The April sun rises over the darkened silhouette of coastal mountains, spilling orange-purple gold sunrise over the green valley below. There is a special earth smell after Southern California rains, as though the messy, dark forces have released the earth once again to verdant hope. I rise early, brew fresh coffee, play Mozart softly on the stereo, and, cup in hand, survey my sleeping household. Cal's breathing, which has been so ragged from a recent flu bout, appears to be settling into a steady pattern. Newly 15-year-old Christian is curled into a ball with his faithful terrier beside him. I feel a 6 a.m. contentment. The man and boy have made a New Year's promise to walk together, and Chris to record events in his daily journal. Today is no exception. They rise hurriedly, pull on sweats, and leave for their mountain walk.
Chris records, April 22nd, 1989. Every day, my dad and I walked together. We let our bodies sweat and our dreams spread out like butter. The hills are verdant with clover and sour grass. It smooshes under us and leaves a signature where our feet have been. The 2-mile journey through the hills are like a stroll to me and a journey to my dad. We didn't make it today. We were halfway when Dad began having trouble breathing. His fingers clutched my arm until I had purple-red welts, but I didn't say a word. Then he gasped one great breath and whispered in my ear, "Son, I don't think I'm going to make this one." That was the closest my dad ever came to giving up. It made my blood churn deep down, and I nudged him forward, sternly echoing, "Dad, you're not a quitter. You never let me quit. You can do it. Get mad, push, but don't quit. Eyes don't often lie."
After a long, tough battle with lung cancer that grew into bone cancer, Chris's father, Robert Calvin Gregg, passed. At 16, Christian wrote a poignant and very vulnerable passage about his last days with his father.
I would lay beside him, stroke his hair like a baby's hair. But his hair was older and softer. It resisted the chemo, fell out, grew back, then fell out again. It's hard to know. Next time, it won't grow back again. Nothing I can do but lie beside him. Lie beside him and stroke his hair.
Christian and his father shared a love that was true and unconditional.
Unconditional, unconditionally, I will love you unconditionally. Let go and just be free. I will love you unconditionally.
Christian, in one of his journal entries, wrote about his father Cal. All men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night, in the dusty recesses of their minds, awake to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of day are dangerous men, that they may act their dreams with open eyes to make it possible. T.E. Lawrence. My father, in his life, was such a dangerous man, a dreamer who dared to dream with open eyes to make his dreams come true. His name was Cal, and he possessed the unmistakable qualities of a leader. He had vision, clarity, passion, persistency, and most importantly, he had the listener's ear. He dared to dream that he could rise above the poverty and discord of the Ohio farm where he spent his childhood doing difficult labor. He had the clarity of vision to know what he wanted, and what he wanted was to break the destructive patterns passed on by the generations of Greggs that had come before him. He had the chutzpah to risk all that he had known and to start fresh in California, where he created a strong community of friends and even stronger family. My father was in no way perfect, and it would be false to say that he was even close. But I can say with confidence that the man never failed. Cal never failed because he never thought he failed. He saw even his worst setbacks as opportunities to learn. He loved to quote famous people, and one of his favorite quotes was by President Harry Truman, who said, "Whenever I make a bum decision, I go out and make another one." He often did too, but it was his persistent inability to fail that made him a successful leader in life. Cal had a passion to teach, and to teach, he knew he had to lead. Where Cal differed, however, from most men who would call themselves a leader, was that he was also a good follower and one of the greatest listeners I've ever seen. He listened intently to the problems people shared and then challenged them to overcome them. When my mom ventured to become the president of Ventura County's largest women's organization, the Ventura County Professional Women's Network, he became her mentor, her confidant, and her cheerleader. In essence, Cal knew how to set people up for success. When my mom became Ventura County Woman of the Year 4 years later, Dad was overjoyed. And as a result of his persistent ability to listen, follow, and encourage, he became one of the foremost leaders in our community. When Cal became ill with cancer in 1988, he did not stop being a leader. He went up in front of his community and challenged them to remember how to love. He told them that his greatest fear was that people would not know what to say to him, and thus he would be shunned. But his ability as a leader would not let this happen. He continued to attend to the business of his store, his family, and his community until his death on June 14, 1992, the last day of school my junior year. While my friends were celebrating the prospect of a sunny summer, I was tucking all such hopes behind me. He never forgot that people were the most important part of being a leader, and he led people's hearts until the end. To me, what being a leader is all about people.
Cal was a spiritual person with strong faith. While Cal was fighting cancer, a group of close friends from their church formed a group they called Friends of Gregg. They took turns bringing home-cooked food to Cal's home and taking him to chemotherapy appointments so Nancy could continue working. In order to try to help Cal beat cancer, Nancy and Cal also chose to try expensive alternative treatments, not covered by any insurance in addition to traditional procedures. The Friends of Gregg continued to faithfully give emotional support. Cal loved Western stories by Zane Grey and had a complete collection which his friends often read to him. They also read Cal his favorite Bible verses and played country western music to him. It was the closest, most loving community. In the meantime, Roger was super busy, caring, and thoughtful with his wonderful family and with his beautiful wife, Gloria. Roger and Chris did what they could to help their father, Cal, and their entire family. Cal was in a coma when his first grandson, Randon, was introduced to him. The precious tiny infant was nestled against him so that Cal could hopefully feel the warmth of the newest member of his family. It was a very emotional time. Roger and Gloria went on to have more children. Within a few years, they had a family that consisted of 4 boys: Randon, Travis, Weston Van, and Garrett. Christian loved to visit and play with his nephews. He spent many hours with them, and they adored their Uncle Christian. In this adorable and tender photo, Christian was taking a nap with his nephew Travis. When a little girl they named McKenna was born, everyone was delighted. Roger and his wife Gloria eventually had 3 more children, a boy named Brody and 2 more girls, Rachel May and the beautiful Kaysen. Born with acute spinal bifida, Rachel May passed away shortly after her birth. In the Gregg household, a beautiful photo of Rachel May dressed in a lovely white baptismal gown hangs in a place of honor. Her parents refer to her as their angel baby. Roger and Gloria were and still are devoted parents. Cal was never able to know his grandchildren. Attending their sporting events and encouraging their interests would have been the highlight of his life. Roger, who deeply misses his father, has shared many happy memories of him with his children. Surely, Cal would have made a fabulous grandparent just as he was a wonderful father. Cal was a natural salesman and did very well in business before his health interfered. The Gregg family had always done an ethical work in business. Christian's parents have always been personable and great with people. Christian inherited an outgoing, charming personality from both his parents. When he was around 12, Christian began charming customers and helping people carry purchases to their vehicles. Besides salesmanship, baseball, and honesty, Cal also taught Chris to think outside the box. This was a life skill that Cal thought was crucial for surviving in a competitive world. The family had a business store they called Tiny's, which both parents worked to maintain. The main store was well known in their area. Therefore, the name Tiny's remained even after Cal purchased the business from Uncle Guy. Uncle Guy was the reason Cal and Nancy left Ohio to move to California. When Cal and Nancy moved to Camarillo, they lived 3 blocks up from the hill from Guy Gregg's home. Uncle Guy and Cal had a lot of interests in common and saw each other every day. Cal was like a son to Uncle Guy. Under Cal and Nancy's ownership, Tiny's was definitely a family business. The many hours Roger and Christian spent working at Tiny's gave them both great training for learning to deal with many different types of people. Definitely a life skill both found very helpful. Christian enjoyed spending time with Johnny Vega, who was in charge of parts and services at the shop. He was a personable member of the Mexican community, and he was helping Christian learn Mexican Spanish. In exchange for his help, Christian was helping Johnny with his citizenship test. He was the first person in his large family to accomplish his goal. The Vecas welcomed the Greggs as part of their family. Through Johnny, celebrations unique to the Mexican culture became well known to Christian. These events Christian stored in his mind with the intention of sometime using this knowledge in a story and script. When Cal passed, Christian stepped up and helped out as much as he could in the store. And this probably required some personal sacrifices on his part, but he has always been fearless. Christian wrote in one of his journal entries,
My dad died 5 months and 11 days ago, which feels like yesterday. Today is Christmas Eve. I'm all alone at the store. I'm not sure what phylum to classify it under. It's sort of a 1950s retro place. The name is Tiny's. Mom is out erranding. As I open the door, a man and his 4 kids, 3 girls and a boy enter. ¿Qué necesito? I say, which means, how can I help you, in broken gringo. He gently commands his children in Spanish. They fumble out of the store toward the car. He offers his hand to me. I shake it. I knew your papa. I nod and smile. He's a foot shorter than me, and as he pulls me close in a big embrace, his head only comes to my chest. Finally, as his children return, he lets go. Tears sting the corners of his eyes. The kids carry 3 plates wrapped in aluminum and set them on the front counter. He nods, and without another word, he herds his children into the wagon. It finally rumbles away from my world as strangely as it entered. Mystified, I walk to the aluminum-wrapped paper plates. Inside are dozens of still hot tamales. I open one, sit in the middle of the floor, with rain pelting down outside, and eat what is still the best tamale I have ever eaten. As I finish, I whisper to myself and to the passing rain, and to a little Mexican man, his wife, and 4 children, Feliz Navidad, Señor. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
At a time during baseball games, Cal often cheered for Christian and watched him play from the bleachers. His physical presence was very important and were happy moments for Christian. After Cal passed in 1992, baseball was put aside for many reasons. Cal had always been an important reference. To play baseball without his father Cal cheering from the bleachers was too difficult. Nancy's good friend Priscilla Partridge de Garcia helped Christian deal with his grief. Under her encouragement, Christian continued journaling his feelings and eventually decided to focus on writing. Dr. Priscilla Partridge de Garcia and her husband Dr. Pedro Enrique Garcia, both USC graduates, helped Christian navigate necessary paperwork. They encouraged Christian to submit examples of his writing and made sure his work was seen by the correct people. As a result, his superior talent was recognized, and Christian was notified in 1993 that he had won an academic scholarship to USC. He was also invited to be a part of their prestigious thematic arts program. This photo shows Christian as a serious student. He always worked diligently. The exclusive thematics art program was a very close-knit program. The students were often invited to the homes of their professors for informal gatherings. Celebrity people were also invited and could often be found sitting in the classrooms and sharing their experience and expertise. Christian thrived in this environment. However, the financial situation of his family at home changed very much. After Cal passed, Nancy often confided in Christian. They clung together and comforted each other through many difficult days. After losing the store due to astronomical medical bills, Nancy needed to find another income for her survival. With the help of one of her best friends, Nancy was able to change directions. She used the people skills she had honed to perfection working at Tiny's and became a fabulous networker, raising millions for colleges, universities, and charitable organizations. With her friends, Nancy helped start the Ventura County Networking Organization. Since many business organizations catered to men, this was found to be an invaluable organization. Although Nancy's job of writing grants, raising money, and planning events was very time-consuming, she still managed to work nights on her computer to earn her master's degree in business administration. She can now add the letters MBA after her name. Always concerned about others, Nancy helped establish a re-entry center for ladies who were former inmates, homeless women, and single mothers with few skills. These ladies were given a proper wardrobe for job interviews, housing, and taught how to present themselves in the most positive ways during interviews. Nancy was especially proud of one re-entry woman she had mentored. This lady was a former inmate who worked hard and earned a master's degree in counseling. While Christian and Nancy worked on their artistic skills, Christian's aunt and Nancy's talented sister, Sue Van Sant, loved working in three-dimensional art. She studied sculpture, welding, glass blowing, and ceramics at the university she attended. After graduation, she concentrated for many years on creating with glass. She spent over 25 years blowing glass at Toledo Museum of Art, making very stunning and colorful creations. Finally, when she and her best girlfriend turned 60, she was able to visit Italy. It was like a dream come true. Sue loved everything about Italy, but especially visiting Venice and Murano and seeing firsthand their beautiful glass history. Currently, Sue creates two-dimensional art by painting mainly with watercolors. She is a wonderful artist. Nancy and Christian would often brainstorm on ways to improve the world. One of their ideas was a Renaissance school, where questions are encouraged and the unanswerable questions are considered. For example, Chris wrote, "The curriculum is life, which is always individual and always universal. Lessons such as this one would be taught in a classroom as changeable as the history of humankind. The walls of the classroom would be painted gray by poets and by prophets, and by those who have the courage to be questioners." After graduating with honors from USC, Christian and 3 friends involved in the arts rented a large apartment in Los Angeles near the beach. He had a great beginning right out of university. Those were very happy times for Christian. As a professional writer and expert surfer, Christian Van Gregg loved to go to Neptune's Net, a beach restaurant across from a popular surfing beach. To Christian, surfing was meditative, and he often surfed alone at night. Worried about him, his talented, thoughtful, and wonderful aunt, Susan Van Sant, gave him a head lantern to wear at night while surfing. Christian laughed and thanked her for caring, but she doubted he ever wore it. Christian was a natural athlete. In this photo, Christian was wearing his wetsuit getting ready to surf. He was ready during this stage of his life for every challenge and every big wave. Fearless and handsome as always. Christian loved living creatures, and for a while he had an aviary filled with canaries. After he left home for university, Christian found another enthusiast to care for them. As a young university student, Christian's funds for gift were often lacking. So he would make lovely cards with the promise of time gifts or special occasion gifts. In this photo, Christian is working on a gift for his mother, which was a romantic dinner with the person of her choice. Chris would get into what he considered an appropriate costume. Set the table with porcelain, crystal, cloth napkins, tablecloth, and candles. After cooking the meal, he would then serve the meal, acting as a proper waiter. Of course, afterwards, he was on cleanup duty. Christian was a delightful, caring, fun person who loved to bring smiles to the people he loved. Usually, once a year for a few weeks in the summer, Christian would visit his Ohio family. In this photo, Christian with his natural golden blonde hair is sitting in his grandparents' Ohio living room with his Aunt Sue who lived nearby. Christian always loved his grandparents very much. Christian's paternal grandparents were Ray and Mary Gregg. They had 5 children, 3 girls and 2 boys. And Christian's father, Robert Calvin Gregg, was the oldest boy. This sweet photo shows Cal when he was a very happy baby. Cal's mother, Mary, was very sweet and kind. Nancy described her as a perfect mother-in-law. Christian's grandmother, Mary, was a successful businesswoman who sold ads for radio stations. Her job kept her very busy, therefore she was seldom around except for holidays. His paternal grandfather, Ray, was a salesman who sold lifetime cooking sets and gave cooking demonstrations. They tended to move around and were often several hours away. Christian's maternal grandparents were Lester and Nella Van Sant. As a young boy, he would often spend several weeks in the summer visiting his grandparents in Ohio and getting to know his large extended family. After his maternal grandfather retired, his grandparents spent the Ohio winters in California. They adored spending time with Christian. He loved being with them too. Lester was a science and math high school teacher. He loved liberal arts and was an excellent athlete. He also loved to go bicycling. Christian's maternal grandfather, Lester, attended school in a one-room schoolhouse where his father was a schoolmaster. Lester excelled quickly in school due to his excellent memory, which Christian inherited. Lester and Christian shared a lot of interests in common. Grandpa Van loved writing, literature, and poetry. He knew a poem for every occasion and often chronicled family events with epic poems. Lester was a loyal Ohio State football fan. For fun, while watching televised games together, Christian would often tease his grandfather by rooting for the opposing team. Christian's photographic memory and ability to learn, especially when preparing for Shakespeare, impressed his grandfather Lester. He was very proud of Christian and his talents. Christian's maternal grandmother Nella, who he called Grandma Van, was the ultimate nurturer. She was a wonderful cook and baker. Her specialty was pies, especially raspberry pies, but they were all delicious. His grandmother Nella was a self-taught artist who enjoyed making cards for her friends and family. This card was for Christian on his 21st birthday.
Happy birthday! 21 years. I have enjoyed watching you mature from a wiggly little baby to a young man. I am so happy you are my grandson. Much love, Grandma Van.
Christian loved celebrations and making people happy. A family plate which said, "You are special," was still used to honor someone with a special meal for birthdays. Besides giving Christian unconditional love, Grandma Van loved making his favorite cake, cookies, and meals. She was also wise enough to know that Chris could sometimes be mischievous, especially when there was something he did not want to do. When Grandma Van found a note from Christian's elementary teacher reporting that Christian had missing homework assignments, she began searching his room. Between the mattresses and a box spring of Christian's bed, Grandma Van found a stack of unfinished assignments. She didn't get angry, but seeing her disappointment was enough for Christian, so he understood the situation. Grandma Van sat with Christian until all the assignments were completed. They then established the nightly routine of checking for homework assignments. When Chris was a little boy, he visited his grandma in the hospital and brought her flowers. Chris loved her very much. They had a very special, loving bond. Christian had several dogs throughout his life. He was especially close to Truckee, a little terrier. With a sweet disposition and soulful eyes, even Christian's Grandma Van believed if there were angels among us, Truckee would fit the description. During Cal's long illness, Truckee was Chris's friend and confidant. They slept together and spent time practicing tricks. Truckee would do anything for Christian. We live as long as we are remembered. Nancy and her wonderful sister Sue often enjoy keeping Christian's memory alive by recalling tender family moments and fun adventures unique to Christian. Remembering the interaction which occurred between Christian and his little dog Truckee often brings smiles. One funny trick Christian taught Truckee was like a scene from a cowboy movie. Truckee would crouch very low on his belly and sneak into a room. Christian would act surprised, turn and point his finger at Truckee, then say, "Bang!" Truckee would immediately roll over on his side and lay still. They called this the Bang Bang game. Christian loved teaching Truckee tricks, and Truckee loved pleasing Christian. Afraid that his beloved grandmother Van might trip over Truckee, Christian taught Truckee to walk slowly beside him. Christian walked like his grandmother, so when she came to visit, Truckee would know what to do and how to react. He was a sweet, wonderful little dog. Eventually, after Cal passed, Roger's family felt Nancy needed a larger dog for security. The Roger Gregg family found a yellow Labrador puppy at a rescue shelter. Christian named the puppy Baggy. With Christian often gone for his many school and sports activities, Truckee seemed to enjoy Baggy's company. This photo shows Nancy with Roger's son, her first grandchild, along with Baggy and Truckee. Christian's grandfather Lester had also been a scholar athlete at university. Besides being Phi Beta Kappa, he was also the captain of the basketball and football teams. He also loved to walk and explore. Christian and his grandfather took long walks, often accompanied by Truckee, and later Baggy would join them. Christian and his family lived on the side of a large hill which was part of the Conejo mountain range, and just at the right angle, one could get a glimpse of the Pacific Ocean. Sometimes Christian and his grandfather Lester would gain easy access to the roof of their home by climbing a tree that stood next to a flat-roofed covered patio. Once they were on the roof, they had a beautiful view of the Pacific Ocean. In the privacy of their rooftop retreat, they would discuss life along with the news of the day. At other times, they would sit quietly, each one deep in thought, and just enjoy being together. The location of their home was beyond Camarillo's city limits. It was a rural area with orange groves across the street and avocado orchards on the north side. Their house was the last house on the street, and beyond the avocado orchard were trails and open spaces. One could hike over the mountains into a valley and eventually hike into a little country town called Posthumous. It was a beautiful, peaceful area. After Christian left home for the university, he often referred to his boyhood home as returning to paradise. His grandfather Lester developed cancer while he was in California. The last year of his life, his grandfather wintered in Ohio, and Christian came to Ohio to visit and say goodbye. His grandfather Lester passed away a few years after his father Cal. Losing two men so important in his life was difficult for Christian. 4 years after the passing of his grandfather, his grandma Van also passed. This time, Christian was not able to say goodbye and was very sad to have not had the chance to see her again. George, a widower from the church who had lost his home after his wife's long illness, came to live at the house. He was a brilliant inventor with a PhD from MIT. He brought joy and laughter back into the Gregg's home. Christian and George became very close. When Christian came home for visits, he loved listening to George's stories. Nancy's grandchildren also loved George. He often entertained and delighted them by helping the children perform science projects in Nancy's kitchen. George was a true gift to the family. The photo shows the backyard in the home where Christian lived with his family. The backyard gazebo was a stage where Christian's earliest scripts written while he was still in high school were performed. With the family's home movie camera, a short play with Christian and a few friends dressed in makeshift costumes would be performed. Other friends would take turns filming. Afterwards, usually while consuming pizza, Christian and his friends would watch their movie and critique the results. This was a great building block for Christian's future interests. During this time, Christian had not yet decided between writing or being a professional baseball player. Surfing was his lesser passion that he pursued later. The gazebo also proved to be a great romantic stage for pictures. In this photo, Christian is with his prom date. Nancy thought Christian's first kiss probably occurred when he was 13. He was always very popular. Christian was a very romantic boyfriend. He was big on picnics and scenic locations such as parks and the beach. Cash was always limited, so his dates were very creative. After graduation, as a reward for all his hard academic work, Christian and his college friend decided to travel to Europe in 1997 and visit many countries and cities in UK, Netherlands, Spain, Italy, France, Czech Republic, Germany, Switzerland, and many more. As a writer, Christian felt it was important to expand his knowledge of the world. At an early age, Christian had developed an interest in ancient history. This was a subject his Aunt Sue taught at one time. Christian was looking forward to seeing different cultures firsthand. As a young man, Christian also anticipated interesting and exciting times, experiencing the popular culture unique to each country he visited. He also tried new challenges, such as whitewater rafting with his college friend William. Their vacation culminated in the United Kingdom at Glastonbury Music Festival, where they attended a rock concert with hundreds of other young people. A few months after the trip, Christian taught William how to write, mostly the basics of how to write a screenplay. Subsequently, they became writing partners and began working on a major screenplay. Christian brought him his idea with some of his high school experiences and an important character named Cal. Christian chose the name Cal to honor his father's name through his creativity and work. The developments of the screenplay and the project itself were subsequently realized in the following years. The time and energy Christian dedicated to his craft of writing sometimes interfered with his social life. For the first time in his life at age 29 in 2003, Christian shared a home with someone he professed to love. On their last morning together, it was raining, and she was ready to leave for work. Christian walked her to her car and sheltered them both with an umbrella. As they did every morning, and then they shared a beautiful goodbye kiss. Christian wanted to give her an engagement ring as soon as he could afford it. But before this, Christian had received a proposal to co-write an obscure fictional documentary called September Tapes. In order to film the movie, Christian, the crew, and actors went to Afghanistan in the summer of 2002, just a year after 9/11. After they arrived at the place, his little ragtag group had thought UN troops were still in Afghanistan and would give them some protection. But when they arrived, they found the troops had left, so they were on their own. One of the group members had a family in Kabul who would permit them to stay in their home. The tension and immediate danger was palpable every day during that trip. Somehow they managed to make the necessary filming for the movie and return to their country and their homes. Christian Van Gregg passed at the age of 29 on February 11, 2003, just a few months after he returned from that very difficult and hard experience in Afghanistan. The movie then won a prestigious award and was distributed worldwide. Christian passed before he could see his award-winning film and before he could turn many of his amazing screenplays into a movie. But his pure heart, fearlessness, courage, and talent will always be honorable. This photo was taken in Montana in the winter of 2002 during the Christmas holiday. The puppies belonged to Chris's girlfriend's family. Christian Van Gregg wrote many important screenplays and works. He has always done every single thing with commitment, talent, and love. A script entirely written and created by Christian Van Gregg called Junkyard Surfer won the Jack Nicholson Award at the University of Southern California. This prize was awarded to the student with artistic ability and intellectual excellence. Junkyard Surfer is about a boy who lives in Ohio, the middle of America, with his aunt and uncle who manage a junkyard. Although he never met his father, his late mother had told him that his father was once a champion surfer. He longs to connect with his father and decides to do this by learning to surf. Since there are no waves in Ohio for him to learn surfing, he decides to train by fastening a surfboard to the hood of an old junker car. As his best friend drives him around the junkyard, he practices balancing on the surfboard. He has two dreams. First, to graduate from high school, and second, to journey to California with his best friend and find his father and learn how to surf for real. After graduation, the story begins. Many adventures, difficult challenges, dangers, and disappointments occur along the way to his final destination. The story, Junkyard Surfer, is an odyssey. It is a coming-of-age story whose happy ending is not always guaranteed. Although for some reasons, the movie was never officially produced or released in the past, the script was very important to Christian. His personal magnum opus, the script he most wanted to make into a movie. The film September Tapes, which he co-wrote, was first presented at the Sundance Film Festival in 2004, where he won an award and where First Look Media acquired worldwide distribution rights. In May of the same year, it was featured in the Cannes Film Festival. The film screened at many other film festivals, including the Deauville American Film Festival, the Copenhagen International Documentary in France, the Amsterdam Fantastic Film in Denmark, in Netherlands, and many more. The film was also nominated for the Golden Fleece Awards in 2005. Another script co-written by Christian is Runt. The main character's name is Cal, a brilliant tribute to Christian's late father. Christian Van Gregg is the creator of Run, and he started writing it in 1997 after a European trip with his writing partner William. Although Run is a fictional story, as the young screenwriters worked, they pulled ideas from their personal life experiences. This was William's first screenwriting experience, but with Christian's help, together they were able to write a cohesive script filled with interesting, believable characters. Run is a coming-of-age script addressing the idea of the effects of neglect on teenagers and examining how these negative feelings could escalate into violence. They hope that more in-depth family conversations would be inspired to help families recognize neglect and work to abolish it and reduce its occurrence and frequency and stop every form of violence. After several attempts with different productions, a director was already attached to the project in 2003, but Christian passed before they could officially work on it. After many years, the script of Run was revisited and directed by his writing partner. Although it ended up not fulfilling the requirements of the complete screenplay as it was originally conceived and intended, a version of the movie considered as a final product premiered at the Mammoth Film Festival in 2020, where it won 2 awards. The movie, as it was presented, was then released in 2021. In the final credits, the film is dedicated to the memory of Cameron Boyce and Christian Van Gregg. Christian Van Gregg had a wide variety of experiences during his life, and he drew on these experiences as he put his heart and soul into his writing. His talent, passion, and strength were skillfully transferred to the written word. Much pride for him, his soul so rare, unique, gentle, and extremely wonderful.
A huge thanks to Christian's family and to all the people who helped make this happen. A very special thanks to Sue and Nancy for their kindness, generosity, dedication, memories, and immense love. Thanks to Sue for her extraordinary research, altruism, honesty, passion, encouragement, support, and for all the long conversations. Thanks to Nancy for her kindness, strength, and pure heart. Entirely created and produced by Arte Enchanted.
Initial performance recited by Anderson Stinson III.
Central narration by Nick Ben.
Performance narrated by Akeem Balaam.
With the participation of the voice narrated by Vandy Lene Enzor. For inspiration, vision, and poetry, thanks to Christian Van Gregg. Much love.
But what happens when the sky above runs out of every single shooting star? And what if every good intention's only meant to go so far? Only love can save us now. Keep the world from burning down, down, down to the ground. Only love can look inside a human heart and see us for who we are and who we are beyond. If only there was only love, only love, only love, only love. How many lessons have we really learned? How many bridges could we cross instead of burn? Why do we find it hard to forgive? Are we so blind and that it's easy to forget? Only love can save us now. keep the world from burning down, down, down to the ground, ground, ground. Only love can look inside human heart and see us for who we are and who we are beyond. If only there was only love, only